It's a great day at SwissWatchExpo. I'm Tim, and today it's all about the TAG Heuer Carrera Chronograph. Welcome back. This is Tim, and today we are going to talk about TAG Heuer and some of the most iconic styles they've had. They've been known about their aqua racer timepieces, but also in the speed section. If you look at their history, they have really focused on the chronograph, and it has always been one of their top sellers in the TAG Heuer line. But back in the 1950s and 60s, before they came out with a chronograph or the Carrera style, it was all about their stopwatches. They were #1 in the stopwatch industry, and it's because the Heuer family was really into racing, really into speed, and they wanted something that was going to measure time, but very clearly and so forth. But in 1962, Jack Heuer, fourth generation owner of the company, was invited to a race called the Carrera Panamericana. Now, this race was so intense, it was so dangerous, so much speed involved, and back in those days, the rules really didn't apply to safe racing. So it was a very exciting time for racing, and when he was invited, he loved the experience. But what he really loved, what he really cherished, was the name Carrera. So he brought that name back to Switzerland in 1963 and went ahead and laid claim to that name and started the design for the Carrera chronograph itself. So in 1963, he kept the purity, he kept the simplicity of the stopwatch feel and put it onto a wristwatch. The first timepiece was actually just a silver dial, very monotone, but such a huge hit for TAG Heuer. Eventually, he started doing what's called a two-tone dial and creating one of the most famous timepieces was their Panda style. Still, for watch connoisseurs, one of the hardest to get and one of the most cherished timepieces to put into a TAG Heuer collection. So the story really doesn't stop there. It kind of moves forward into 1966. Now, this is kind of a cool story. In 1966, the quest was to make an automatic movement to go into the chronograph timepieces. And before then, everything was manual wind. But to do this, you had to miniaturize and make everything smaller to fit inside the case. So in 1966, they collaborated with a couple of the companies in secret, Breitling being one of them, Hamilton being another, and they came up with a new movement, a new automatic movement that would fit into this timepiece. And in 1969, it was actually introduced as the Calibre 11. Now, moving forward up to today's dates, here we have a couple of timepieces that actually have the Calibre 16 movement. The Calibre 16 movement does have a 42-hour power reserve. Looking at the timepiece here, we're going to start off with the black piece. Now, this is a 43mm model. Now, the 43mm model in most timepieces is going to sit pretty good on a 7¼ to 7½ inch wrist. This one is actually pretty large. So putting on my wrist, I'm kind of maxed out on my wrist of where we can be on this size of the timepiece, mainly because not only the case profile of the timepiece, but also the bezel itself, and it really shows a big look on your wrist and so forth. What's also nice about the timepiece, if we look at it too, it has that beautiful black ceramic bezel, really showing off the tachymeter here that you see, and the inside is a black matte finish. Now look closely at the hour markers that are put onto the timepiece. Those are applied, but it goes from 0 to 60, just like a speedometer on a car. A really cool design that TAG went ahead and put on their piece. Another great look on this is you have a double date window. Now, the double date window is unique because you don't see a lot of companies with chronographs with a double date window. I believe Omega has a couple, and then there's a couple other brands that do too. But to find a double date window on a chronograph timepiece like this is pretty rare. So another reason to add this to your collection, it is just a really cool design. And you'll see it kind of stays with the two-tone look, even though you have a lot of black involved, the silver going through on the subdials really makes that watch pop. The luminescence on the hands is actually on the hands, but when it darkens, it is a great look. It really is. Flipping over the timepiece, you're going to see that it does have the exhibition back that shows off that caliber 16 movement. Beautiful heartbeat that you see here with the escapement. It is gorgeous. Stainless steel. A lot of times when you see the case itself, you're going to have a lot more satin polish to the case. This is actually a high polish almost all the way around. The only difference is with the integrated bracelet, you do have the satin and high polish, but you rarely see a high polish look on a case going all the way through the timepiece. Now, coming through at the back, you're going to see that it does have a deployment clasp just like this, along with the Heuer design that you see. Very nice. Now, stepping over to the blue design, we're going to go to the blue design because I like the size of this. This actually fits my wrist really well. It's a 41 millimeter. And of course, I love blue. Blue's my favorite color. I've mentioned that in a couple of my videos. But you're going to see that you have that stunning blue ceramic tachymeter bezel. Now here, we're going to have a flash of color that really kind of goes along with the racing motif. You have the blue and of course the silver and white subdials on the inside with a white inner ring, along with a red chronograph stopwatch hand, and you see the orange segments on the running second hand. It's a really cool flash of color that really brings this whole watch together. The millimeter size on the two timepieces are still pretty thick, but here you do have a closed back, which I'm a big fan of because it brings together that TAG Heuer emblem that is well known for the Carrera line. You see the word Carrera underneath the timepiece also. Again, with the stainless steel bracelet coming together with the deployment clasp, another great timepiece to add to your collection. So if you'd like to learn more about these two timepieces or any of our racing timepieces, contact us at SwissWatchExpo.com.